Alright, today we're going to talk about percent of a number, and there's a couple different ways to solve percents of numbers. So let's first start with a percent. So let's say we have 20% of 90. So one way to do this is with fractions. So we can turn that percent into a fraction. So that would be 20 over 100. Can divide both those by 20, which would equal 1/5. And then of is the one word you can trust in math. It's always going to be multiplied. The way I think about it is, if 2 of my cats have 3 kittens, I have 6 kittens. So how do I take the 2 and the 3 and get 6? I have to multiply. So of is always going to be multiply. So I'm going to do 1/5 times 90. Put that over 1. I can reduce this before I multiply. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 90 18 times. So I can multiply. 18 times 1 is 18. 1 times 1 is 1. So my final answer there is 18. So 20% of 90 is 18. Alright, now we have 35% of 60. So another way to solve this is with the proportion. And the proportion has to be set up like this. Is over of equals percent over 100. Well, for this I have 35%, so that's going to go over 100. I don't have an is, so that's just going to be an x. And of is 60. So and now I have a proportion. 35 over 100 equals x over 60. So I can cross multiply. So 100 times x would be 100x. And then 35 times 60, let's work that out. Oops. So 0 is just going to be a placeholder. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 3 is 21. That's going to be 2,100. So now I can divide by 100 to solve. And I get x equals 21. So 35% of 60 is 21. One more method you can use to solve percent problems is if I have 18% of 300, I can turn the 18% into a decimal and then multiply. So I move my decimal 2 times to the left. I get 18 hundredths times, of always means times, 300. So now I need to do 18 hundredths times 300. So 8 times 0 is 0, 8 times 0 is 0, 8 times 3 is 24. 0 placeholder, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 3 is 3. So I had 0, 0, 4, and 5. I have two digits behind the decimal in my problem, so I need 2 in my answer. So I get a final answer of 54. So 18% of 30 is 54. And sometimes when you're working with percents, an estimate is all you need to do. So if I have 62% of 553, I can estimate that. So I'm going to round. So 62%, that's going to round to about 60%. Of 553, we're going to round that to 550. Just making our numbers a little nicer there. So here we can use any of the 3 methods I've talked about previously. So I'm going to go ahead and make this into a fraction. So I got 60 over 100 times 550. So I'm going to reduce that 60 over 100. So I can divide both of those by 20. So 60 divided by 20 is 3. And 100 divided by 20 is 5. Now I can reduce this further by cross-reducing the 5 and the 550. So 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 550 110 times. So now all I have to do is multiply 3 times 110, which is 330, and 1 times 1 is 1. So my final answer, 62% of 553, is about, that's the about symbol, 330.